Many foreigners believe that dating a Filipina is like stepping into a fairy tale. The love, the devotion, the care, it all feels perfect. But is it really as magical as it seems? Or are there hidden challenges that many fail to see before it's too late? Today, we'll uncover the reality of relationships with Filipinas and find out whether it's truly a dream or just an illusion. A foreigner arrives in the Philippines and is immediately captivated by the charm of the women here. Filipinas are naturally affectionate, caring, and devoted. Unlike in many Western countries, where relationships often feel complicated and full of emotional distance, here love seems simple and sincere. He meets a Filipina who makes him feel like the most special man in the world. She calls him a love, sends sweet good morning messages, and makes sure he is always comfortable and happy. She listens to him, laughs at his jokes, and always wants to be near him. He has never felt this way before. In his home country, dating often felt like a competition, full of mixed signals and unspoken rules. But here, it is different. A Filipina does not hesitate to express her feelings. If she loves you, she shows it. She takes care of you, cooks for you, holds your hand in public, and makes you feel like the center of her world. Everything feels so effortless, so genuine, so pure. He starts thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe I've found the perfect woman. As the days go by, the relationship deepens. She introduces him to her friends, takes him to her favorite places, and makes him feel at home in her world. He starts believing that love in the Philippines is different, that here, women truly appreciate a good man. He enjoys the attention, the affection, and the feeling of being needed. The connection is strong, and he begins to imagine a future with her. For some foreigners, this is where they make their first mistake. They assume that because everything feels perfect in the beginning, it will always be this way. But the truth is, every relationship, no matter how magical at first, will face challenges. Love is not just about emotions, it is about compatibility, understanding, and shared values. And in the Philippines, relationships come with expectations that some foreigners are not prepared for. As time goes on, small things start to change. At first, he does not notice them, or if he does, he ignores them because he is so in love. But slowly, he starts to realize that his Filipina expects certain things from him, things that were never discussed openly. She asks more questions: where he is, who he's talking to, what he's doing. At first, it feels sweet, but slowly, it becomes constant. If he does not reply to her messages immediately, she gets upset. If he talks to another woman, even in a casual way, she wants to know all the details. Then, there's her family. In Western culture, relationships are usually private, just between two people. But in the Philippines, family plays a major role. A Filipina is often deeply connected to her parents and siblings, and their opinions matter to her. She might talk to them about their relationship, seek their approval, and sometimes, even let them influence decisions. At first, he sees it as a sign of how much she loves her family. But over time, he realizes that their involvement is stronger than he expected. They want to meet him, they ask about their plans, and sometimes, they express opinions on what is best for their daughter or sister. Then there's the topic of money. In the beginning, finances were never discussed. The relationship felt pure, based on love and connection. She never asked for anything, and he believed that she loved him for who he was. But later, small hints start to appear. Maybe her younger sibling needs school fees. Maybe her parents are struggling with medical bills. She does not demand anything, but she hopes he will offer to help. He tells himself that it's just a small favor, nothing big. But as time passes, the requests keep coming. It starts to feel like an unspoken expectation, and he begins to wonder if he is being seen as a provider rather than a partner. The relationship, which once felt like a fairy tale, now starts to feel different. He still loves her, but he starts to feel pressure. He wonders if he is truly making his own decisions, or if he is simply going along with what is expected of him. The love is still there, but the weight of responsibility begins to build. For some foreigners, this realization comes too late. They are already deeply invested in the relationship, emotionally, financially, and sometimes even legally. They want to make their Filipina happy, but they also feel that they are losing themselves in the process. They feel guilty if they say no to financial help. They feel pressured to always reassure her of their love. They feel obligated to meet the expectations of her family. And in some cases, they realize that they have rushed into something they did not fully understand. For those who marry quickly, the situation becomes even more complicated. In the Philippines, divorce is not an option, making it much harder to leave a marriage if things do not work out. Some foreigners enter marriage believing that their Filipina will never change, only to realize later that love alone is not enough to sustain a lifelong commitment. They find themselves feeling trapped, with few legal or financial options if they want to leave. But does this mean that love in the Philippines is not real? Not at all. Many foreigners find happiness and lifelong love with Filipinas. The difference between success and failure is not luck, it is understanding. The men who take their time, who learn about Filipino culture, who set clear boundaries, and who communicate openly with their partner have a much higher chance of building a happy and lasting relationship. So, is a relationship with a Filipina a fairy tale or an illusion? The truth is, it can be both. It can be a love story like no other, full of loyalty and happiness, but only if you take the time to understand her culture, her values, and her expectations. Love is not just about emotions, it is about commitment, trust, and shared understanding. Before you fall for the dream, make sure you are ready for the reality. If you take your time and choose wisely, you may just find the love of your life. But if you rush in blindly, you may wake up from the dream into something you never expected. Love in the Philippines is special, but only if you enter it with open eyes, an open heart, and a clear mind. A foreigner arrives in the Philippines and meets a Filipina who makes him feel like the most special man in the world. She calls him love, checks on him constantly, and makes sure he is always happy. She is affectionate, kind, and devoted in a way he has never experienced before. Everything feels so effortless, so genuine, so pure. He starts thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe I've found the perfect woman. Each morning, he wakes up to a sweet message from her, wishing him a good day and reminding him how much she cares about him. She asks if he has eaten, if he slept well, and if he needs anything. When they are together, she holds his hand, looks at him with admiration, and makes him feel like the center of her world. She laughs at his jokes, listens to his stories, and gives him attention in a way that feels refreshing, different, and deeply satisfying. He feels lucky. In his home country, dating was complicated. Women seemed distant, distracted, or unsure of what they wanted. Relationships felt like a struggle, full of mind games, unspoken rules, and a constant need to prove himself. But here, it is different. His Filipina does not hesitate to show her love. She does not play games or make him guess how she feels. She makes it clear, she loves him, she values him, and she wants to be with him. After just a few weeks, he begins to imagine a future together. He wonders what it would be like to build a life with her, to wake up next to her every day, to have a relationship free of stress and full of love. The idea of a simple, happy life with a woman who truly appreciates him is appealing. He starts thinking about moving in together, maybe even marriage. He believes he has found what so many men search for, a woman who is loving, loyal, and dedicated. For the first time in a long time, he feels at peace. The relationship moves forward naturally. She introduces him to her friends, takes him to her favorite places, and makes sure he experiences real Filipino culture. He loves the warmth of the people, the delicious food, and the way everything feels so alive. But most of all, he loves how she makes him feel. He no longer feels lonely. He no longer feels like he has to fight for love. Here, love comes easily. Or at least, that is what he believes. But as time passes, small changes begin to appear. At first, they are barely noticeable. She asks him more questions, where he is going, who he is with, what time he will be back. It seems sweet at first, like she just cares about him. But then, the questions become more frequent. If he does not answer her messages right away, she gets upset. If he mentions talking to another woman, even just a cashier at the store, she asks more questions than necessary. He tells himself that it is just because she loves him, that she wants to feel secure. But slowly, he starts to feel like he is being watched, like he has to explain himself all the time. She wants to know his plans before he makes them. She wants him to spend all his free time with her. And if he does something without telling her first, she becomes distant, quiet, or upset. Then, there is her family. In Western culture, relationships are usually private, just between two people. But in the Philippines, family is everything. She talks to her parents and siblings every day. They know about their relationship, and they want to meet him. They welcome him warmly, treating him like part of their family. At first, he loves this. He enjoys the sense of belonging, the way everyone is so friendly and accepting. But soon, he realizes that their opinions matter more than he expected. If her mother or father does not approve of something, she listens. If her siblings need help, she feels responsible. And slowly, he begins to understand that in her culture, a relationship is not just between a couple, it includes family, too. He respects this, but he also starts to feel like there are expectations he was never prepared for. Then comes the topic of money. In the beginning, finances were never discussed. She never asked for anything, and he believed that their love was pure. But over time, small hints start to appear. She talks about her younger sibling needing school fees. She mentions that her parents are struggling with medical bills. She says she wishes she could help them more. She never directly asks for money, but he feels the pressure. He loves her, and he does not want to see her stressed. So, he helps a little. Just once. Just a small amount. She thanks him, tells him how much she appreciates it, and everything feels good again. But then, another request comes. Then another. It is never a demand, just a mention, a small hint that something is wrong. And slowly, he realizes that his role in the relationship is changing. He is no longer just her boyfriend or partner. He is becoming her provider. He begins to feel conflicted. He still loves her, but he wonders if this was always expected. Did she see him as someone who could take care of her financially? Was he wrong to think their love was separate from money? Or is this just part of the culture, something he needs to accept? As these thoughts fill his mind, he also starts noticing other small things, how she gets upset if he does not give her enough attention, how she reacts if he tries to spend time alone, how she assumes that he will always take care of things. He starts questioning if he really knows her, or if he was just caught up in the excitement of the relationship. For some foreigners, this realization comes too late. They are already deeply involved, emotionally, financially, and sometimes even legally. If they marry quickly, the situation becomes even more complicated. In the Philippines, divorce is not an option, making it difficult to leave a marriage if things do not work out. But does this mean that love in the Philippines is not real? No. Many foreigners find true happiness with Filipinas. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is understanding. The men who take their time, learn about the culture, communicate openly, and set clear boundaries have a much greater chance of building a happy and lasting relationship. A Filipina's love is deep, real, and loyal. But it comes with responsibilities, expectations, and cultural differences that a foreigner must be ready to embrace. Those who rush in blindly, thinking only with their heart and ignoring the realities of the relationship, may find themselves feeling overwhelmed. So, is love with a Filipina a fairy tale or an illusion? The truth is, it can be both. It can be the greatest love you will ever experience, if you take your time to understand it. Love in the Philippines is not just about romance. It is about family, commitment, and shared responsibility. Before making any big decisions, a foreigner must ask himself, am I ready for everything that comes with this relationship? Do I understand her values, her expectations, and her culture? If the answer is yes, then he may have found a love that will last a lifetime. But if there are doubts, it is better to take things slow, to communicate, and to make sure that the love he is experiencing is built on reality, not just emotion. Love in the Philippines is real, but only for those who are ready for it. Those who respect it, understand it, and embrace it fully will find something truly special. But those who rush in without thinking may wake up from the dream to face a reality they never expected. But as time goes on, small things start to change. She asks more questions: where he is, who he's talking to, what he's doing. At first, it feels sweet, but slowly, it becomes constant. She checks in on him more often, expecting instant replies to her messages. If he takes too long to respond, she starts to wonder why. If he says he is out with friends, she asks for details. If he casually mentions another woman, even if it's just a coworker or a store clerk, she wants to know more. It starts as concern, as affection, but over time, he begins to feel like he is being watched. He tells himself that it's just because she loves him so much, that she only wants reassurance, that she just wants to feel secure. But deep inside, he starts to feel like he is losing a part of his freedom. Then, there's her family. She starts mentioning financial struggles, talking about how her parents or siblings need help. It's never a direct request, but the hints are there. She talks about how hard her father works but still struggles to pay the bills. She mentions that her younger brother might have to stop school because they can't afford tuition. She shares how her mother is sick and needs medicine, but money is tight. She never says, "Can you help?" but she looks at him with hopeful eyes, as if waiting for him to offer. At first, he doesn't mind. He cares about her, and he doesn't want to see her stressed or sad. So, he offers a little help. Maybe he covers a small expense, maybe he pays for groceries, maybe he helps with the rent. She is grateful, she smiles at him, she tells him how much it means to her. It makes him feel good, like he is taking care of someone who truly loves him. But then, the requests become more frequent. Or rather, the hints become more frequent. If he helps once, it becomes expected. When he does not offer, she seems disappointed, not angry, but sad. He notices how she avoids asking directly, but he can feel the expectation in the air. She doesn't want to pressure him, but at the same time, she hopes he will step up and take responsibility, and not just for her, but for the people she loves. What once felt like a dream relationship now starts to feel like a responsibility. He begins to wonder, is this real love, or was he too quick to believe in a fairy tale? He still loves her, but the weight of expectations is starting to settle on his shoulders. He thinks back to the beginning, to how effortless everything felt. She was always smiling, always affectionate, always happy just being with him. Now, things feel different. She still loves him, but there is tension. When he does not do what she hopes, he can see the sadness in her eyes. If he tries to talk about it, she reassures him that she loves him, that she doesn't care about money, that she just wants to be with him. But at the same time, the hints do not stop. He wonders if he is imagining things. Maybe this is just part of the culture. Maybe he is overthinking. Maybe he should just accept that relationships come with responsibility. But a part of him still feels uneasy. Then, he notices another change, her jealousy grows stronger. In the beginning, she was a little possessive, but now, it feels like she is always watching. If he spends time with friends, she wants to know why she wasn't invited. If he talks to another woman, she asks more questions. If he says he just wants some time alone, she wonders if he is losing interest. What once felt like deep love now feels like control. At first, he reassures her. He tells her she has nothing to worry about. He gives her more attention, makes sure she feels secure. But the more he tries, the more she needs. No amount of reassurance seems enough. She wants all of his time, all of his attention, all of his love. He begins to feel suffocated. Then, her family starts to play a bigger role in their relationship. In the beginning, he enjoyed meeting them. They were kind, welcoming, and treated him like one of their own. He liked the warmth of Filipino culture, the way family was so important. But over time, he realizes that their opinions matter more than he expected. If he and his Filipina have a disagreement, her family knows about it. If he does something she doesn't like, her mother or sister will subtly mention it. They never interfere directly, but he can feel their presence in every decision. He starts to wonder how much of their relationship is just between the two of them, and how much is influenced by her family. Financial expectations also grow. At first, he thought it was just small things. But now, he feels like he is part of their financial structure. If someone in her family needs help, she looks at him. If there is an emergency, she turns to him. He realizes that being with her is not just about their love, it is about his role as a provider. For some foreigners, this is the breaking point. They feel trapped. They love their Filipina, but they also feel like they are being pulled into a situation they never fully understood. They question if they are truly valued for who they are, or if they are just seen as financial security. They wonder if love should feel this way. Others try to adapt. They accept that this is just part of the relationship, that this is how love works in the Philippines. They adjust, they set limits, they try to balance their love with their personal needs. Some succeed, finding a way to make it work. Others struggle, feeling like they are sacrificing too much of themselves. And then, there are those who realize they rushed in too quickly. They believed in the fairy tale without understanding the reality. They mistook devotion for lifelong compatibility. They assumed that because the beginning was perfect, the rest of the relationship would be the same. But love is not just about the beginning, it is about how two people grow together, how they handle challenges, how they balance their needs. Some men stay in relationships even when they feel unhappy, afraid of hurting their Filipina, afraid of the guilt of leaving. Others leave, realizing that they were not ready for the reality of a serious commitment in a different culture. But not all relationships end this way. Some foreigners take their time. They do not rush into love. They take the time to truly understand their Filipina, to discuss expectations, to set boundaries early on. They talk about money, about family involvement, about personal space. They do not ignore red flags just because love feels good in the beginning. These are the men who find success in relationships with Filipinas. They respect the culture, but they also know their limits. They love deeply, but they also think clearly. They do not let emotions blind them to reality. And because of this, they build strong, lasting relationships based on real love, not just romantic excitement. So, is love with a Filipina a dream or an illusion? The answer depends on how well you understand it. Love in the Philippines is deep, passionate, and beautiful, but it is also different. It comes with responsibilities, cultural expectations, and a need for patience and understanding. A foreigner who enters a relationship blindly, believing only in the fairy tale, may find himself facing unexpected challenges. But a man who takes his time, who learns, who communicates, and who builds a relationship on trust and respect, he will find that love in the Philippines can be the greatest experience of his life. Love is not just about how you feel in the beginning. It is about how you handle everything that comes after. The real question is, are you ready for it? For some foreigners, reality hits too late. They realized that they rushed into the relationship without understanding the cultural expectations. Now, they feel trapped, emotionally, financially, or even legally. In the worst cases, some men marry without fully knowing their partner, only to discover later that leaving is not so easy. But does this mean love in the Philippines is not real? Not at all. The difference between success and failure is understanding what you are getting into before you commit. In the beginning, everything felt like a dream. She was affectionate, sweet, and always there to make him happy. She gave him the kind of attention he never received before. She called him a love, she sent good morning and good night messages, and she always made sure he was taken care of. It was easy to believe that he had found something special, something pure. But as time went on, things began to shift. At first, he didn't notice the small signs. Maybe she became a little more jealous, a little more possessive. She wanted to know his whereabouts all the time. If he didn't reply quickly, she got upset. If he went out without her, she questioned him. But he ignored these things, telling himself it was just because she cared. Then, the topic of family started to come up more often. She talked about how much they struggled, how her younger sibling needed help with school, how her mother was sick. It was never a direct request, just hints, small stories that made him feel like he should do something. And so, he did. He helped once. Then again. And again. It felt good at first, making her happy, easing her worries. But over time, he started to feel the weight of responsibility. He realized that his role in the relationship had changed. He was no longer just her boyfriend or her husband, he was her provider. And not just for her, but for her family as well. He started to feel pressure, but by then, it was too late to step back. If he said no, she looked hurt. If he hesitated, she became distant. If he tried to talk about it, she reassured him that she loved him and was not with him for money. But the requests never stopped. And then, for some, came marriage. In the rush of love, some foreigners proposed too quickly, thinking that marriage will only make their relationship stronger. They believed that if she is so devoted now, she will be even more loyal and loving after they are married. What they don't realize is that marriage in the Philippines is not the same as in the West. Divorce does not exist. Once married, they are legally tied to their Filipina, and if things do not work out, leaving is not as simple as just walking away. For some men, this is when the illusion truly breaks. The same woman who was once so affectionate now seems different. She still loves him, but she has expectations. She expects him to take care of things, to be responsible, to meet the needs that she and her family have. If he resists, arguments begin. She accuses him of not caring, of being selfish. She reminds him of everything she has done for him, how she has been loyal and devoted. And he starts to feel guilty. Some foreigners stay in unhappy marriages simply because they feel there is no other option. They don't want to abandon their wife, especially if they have children together. They don't want to deal with the legal complications of separation. They don't want to be seen as the bad guy. And so, they stay, hoping that things will improve, hoping that love will somehow fix everything. But deep inside, they know that this is not the life they imagined. But not every story ends this way. Some foreigners take their time. They don't rush into relationships just because it feels good in the beginning. They observe, they ask questions, they learn about Filipino culture before making any commitments. They understand that love here is not just between two people, it involves family, expectations, and responsibilities. Those who succeed in relationships with Filipinas are the ones who go in with open eyes. They set boundaries early on. They have conversations about finances, about family, about future plans. They don't ignore red flags just because love feels good at the moment. They know that emotions alone are not enough to sustain a long-term relationship. A successful relationship with a Filipina requires balance. It requires a foreigner to understand her culture but also to maintain his own identity. It requires compromise, but also clear communication. It requires love, but also logic. Love in the Philippines is real. The devotion of a Filipina is genuine. But it is not a fairy tale. It comes with responsibilities, with cultural differences, with challenges that must be faced with maturity and patience. The foreigners who understand this, who prepare themselves, who choose wisely, these are the men who find lifelong happiness. But those who rush in, believing only in the dream, ignoring the realities, they may find themselves in a situation they never expected. The choice is always in their hands. Love is beautiful, but it must be entered with both heart and mind. Only then can it truly last. So, is a relationship with a Filipina a fairy tale or an illusion? The truth is, it can be both. It can be a love story like no other, full of loyalty and happiness, but only if you take the time to understand her culture, her values, and her expectations. Love is not just about emotions, it is about commitment, trust, and shared understanding. Before you fall for the dream, make sure you are ready for the reality. If you take your time and choose wisely, you may just find the love of your life. But if you rush in blindly, you may wake up from the dream into something you never expected. Many foreigners who enter relationships with Filipinas do so because they are captivated by the warmth and affection these women show. Unlike in many Western cultures, where dating can feel complicated and uncertain, Filipinas tend to be expressive with their love. They are not afraid to show how much they care. They will send you sweet messages every morning, call you love or honey, and always want to make sure you are comfortable and happy. They cook for you, take care of you when you are sick, and show a level of devotion that is rare to find elsewhere. It feels refreshing, genuine, and effortless. At first, everything is perfect. There is no need to guess how she feels about you because she makes it clear every single day. You feel important, valued, and deeply cared for. She introduces you to her family and friends, proudly showing you off as if you are the best thing that has ever happened to her. And for a while, you believe that this love is different, purer, and meant to last forever. But love is never just about emotions, it is about reality, and reality eventually reveals itself. Over time, small things begin to surface, things you may not have noticed in the beginning. She starts asking more questions about where you are, who you are with, and what you are doing. At first, it feels sweet, like she just cares about you. But then, the questions become more frequent. If you don't reply to her messages quickly, she gets upset. If you talk to another woman, even just a friend or a coworker, she asks a lot of questions. Her love, which once felt freeing, now begins to feel possessive. And then, there is her family. Filipinas are known for being deeply connected to their families. In many cases, their family's opinion matters just as much as their own when it comes to relationships. At first, you find it charming how much she values family, how she spends time with them and supports them. But then, you realize that her family is not just a small part of your relationship, it is a big part. They want to know about your future plans. They want to meet you early on. And sometimes, they have strong opinions about how your relationship should go. Slowly, financial expectations also start to appear. She might start mentioning how her parents are struggling or how her younger sibling needs help with school fees. She does not directly ask for money, but the hints are there. You want to help because you love her. And so, you do. But over time, the requests continue. What started as small help becomes a regular thing. You start to feel like you are not just supporting her, but also her entire family. You begin to feel pressure, but at the same time, you do not want to disappoint her. You still love her, but you start to wonder if this is the life you imagine. The relationship that once felt light and effortless now feels heavy with responsibilities. You ask yourself, is this real love, or did I rush in too fast without seeing the full picture? For some foreigners, this realization comes too late. They have already made big commitments, moving in together, sharing finances, or even getting married. In the Philippines, marriage is a serious commitment, and divorce is not an option. Some foreigners who marry too quickly find themselves feeling stuck, realizing that they entered a lifelong bond without fully understanding what it meant. Some men choose to stay in relationships even when they are unhappy because they feel guilty about leaving. They do not want to abandon their Filipina, especially if they have children together. They feel obligated to continue providing support, even when they are emotionally drained. Others try to set boundaries, but when they do, their Filipina might take it personally, thinking that he does not love her as much as before. But not all relationships end this way. Some foreigners take their time. They observe, they ask questions, they talk about important topics early in the relationship. They discuss finances, family expectations, personal space, and future plans. They do not let emotions blind them to the reality of cultural differences. They understand that love is not just about the honeymoon phase, it is about how two people grow together over time. The foreigners who succeed in relationships with Filipinas are the ones who approach love with both heart and mind. They respect her culture but also make sure their own boundaries are respected. They do not rush into marriage or financial commitments without fully understanding what they are getting into. They build their relationship on communication, not just emotions. A relationship with a Filipina can be a fairy tale, but only if both partners are honest about their expectations from the start. It can be a lifelong love story if both people truly understand each other. But for those who enter blindly, ignoring the realities of cultural differences, financial expectations, and family involvement, the dream can quickly turn into something unexpected. Love in the Philippines is real. Filipinas are some of the most loyal and caring partners in the world. But no love story is perfect. Every relationship requires work, understanding, and mutual respect. If you want a successful relationship with a Filipina, take your time. Do not let emotions alone guide your decisions. Observe, communicate, and most importantly, make sure that both of you are on the same page about what you want in the future. Before you make any major commitments, ask yourself, do I truly understand her culture and expectations? Have we talked about money, family involvement, and long-term goals? Am I making this decision with a clear mind, or am I just caught up in emotions? If your answer is yes, then you may have found a love that will last a lifetime. But if you have doubts, take your time. A strong relationship is built on trust, respect, and shared values. If you approach it with patience and wisdom, love in the Philippines can be one of the most beautiful experiences of your life. True love is never in a hurry. The best relationships are the ones that grow naturally, where both partners understand each other deeply. If you choose wisely, love in the Philippines can be everything you ever dreamed of. But if you rush in without thinking, you may wake up one day realizing that the fairy tale was never real to begin with. Love is not just about how you feel in the beginning, it is about how you handle everything that comes after. Be wise, be patient, and most importantly, make sure that the love you are experiencing is built on reality, not just emotions. If you do that, then yes, a relationship with a Filipina can be the most beautiful and rewarding experience of your life.